My name is Joseph. It is my honor and pleasure to be able to talk about the new features in Alibre V28.1. I have some people with me, and let me pull up my screen to share an agenda. So on this agenda, we're going to go through new features in Alibre, new features in PDM, and then how do you update or upgrade Alibre or even get Alibre, and we'll do a Q&A so we can answer some of your questions. On the webinar with me, I have myself. I graduated from ASU Polytech with a BSc in engineering. I've worked in aerospace quality at Honeywell, chemical reactor plant design with Stratco. I've done exhaust emissions product design in heavy duty diesel with AP emissions. And I designed mechanical surgical handles at W.L. Gore for intravascular surgeries. But now I'm with the Libre and I get to live the dream and be a CAD jockey all day. It's the best job in the world. I'm a family man. I have a wonderful wife and two amazing young daughters. And then we also have Chris Lang with us. He's our sales guy. Chris, take it away.
Hey everybody. My name's Chris. I graduated from the University of Texas at Dallas with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. Worked at Teledyne Cable Solutions for a while. They're a subsidiary of Teledyne Marine, and I mostly did mold tool design, working with defense contractors. Um, I was there for a few years, and then, like many others, lost my job during COVID. And that extended time being unemployed kind of gave me an opportunity to look look at other careers and pivot, and that's where how I found Alibre, and been here for a little over 4 years, and I love it, and they're great to work for, and I like to still be CAD adjacent, or I guess I'm in CAD, but like engineering adjacent, and get to still talk about and do all that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. And we also have our moderator, Alex, who'll be checking our questions and letting me know how things are going in the background. Alex, go ahead and take it away.
So I graduated with the Bachelor in Finance from Fayetteville, University of Arkansas. I was a sales manager at one point. That was during COVID, so luckily I found a good opportunity to work there and do that and kind of get to learn how that stuff goes. And then afterwards, I did a couple of years of personal investments, and that was an interesting time. The interesting thing is it's a Libre is kind of close to home to me. My father was actually the founder of it back in '97, and now I get the opportunity to work with it and help it grow and see what kind of direction we take it. So it's very exciting. And then I'll tell you a little bit about Libre itself as well. So we're obviously a 3D CAD company, built for engineers, educators, and makers, simple to use. And we actually pioneered the first browser-based distributed CAD, and that was in a collaboration with Microsoft. So that was a very interesting time. I remember when I was younger hearing stories about it. Trusted in 129 countries across the globe. We've saved users over $248 million due to our affordable pricing and perpetual license model. And that's what we want to do. We want to get everybody the most powerful CAD for the best price.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the new features that we have. I'm going to go ahead and open up a part here. And let's say I'm taking the role of an industrial designer or a product designer, and I want to get my curvature just right. And the straightforward way of doing that is with a loft. But I think who on this call hasn't had this situation where you're in a loft and it's not working out the way that you want for one reason or another? It'd be great to just have a different way of approaching it. And I think our new features here with fillets actually kind of enable that. So let's take a look at how this mouse was made. I first extrude this body and then cut the tip a little bit narrower and create a fillet here. And this is where we can start to see some of these new features come into play. Our fillet tool is now separated into a constant radius and a variable radius fillet separately. And when I click an edge, you can see a few things. One, our edge is still preserved even though the fillet has been applied, so I can still reference the original spot on that edge. And then I can start setting some custom sizes, right? Perhaps I'd like this to be 0.9, and then our fillet tapers from 0.5 to 0.9. Really nothing new here. We've seen this in previous versions, but this is where it starts to get unique because now, because I still have this edge here, I can click and place a point on that. And then I can say, you know what? I would like this to actually be on a different spot on this edge, maybe 71.9% through the length of this edge. And I'll take this down to 0.5 so my fillet shows up again. And there I can see that at every point that I click, I can define what radius that I want. So it's not just start and end radii anymore. I also have the option to change this to sequence. So instead of just choosing what percentage down this particular section of edge that I want, I can say, I want this 53.5 down the entire sequence, or I can make this 71.9% down this entire sequence and be able to apply a pretty curvy fillet. In this case, maybe I'll design this, so I'll go 0.9 here, 0.9 here. Actually, I make that 1.1 so we grow a little bit larger. And then we'll go really large at 1.5. And that's kind of the contour that you would see on a computer mouse. So we'll say okay to that. Let's take a closer look by applying one more fillet, right? Maybe as a product or industrial designer, we would want to be able to apply something for a thumb to rest in there. I'll go ahead and advance this by changing my radius here to be somewhere around 0.05, right? A lot smaller. So we'll go 0.05, 0.05. And there we have a fillet all the way down the bottom. I'm going to click another point, and I'll say in my entire sequence, I would like this point to rest 30% down the sequence, and I want to grow this fillet to a size of, say, 0.4. Let's add another one. Add another point. We'll assign this to the sequence, and we'll make this 0.4 as well. Oh, but that's what percentage. So I'll say 65% through the sequence, add a size of 0.4. And then we'll add one final point, and I'll say I want this to be exactly 40% through at a size of 0.75. And there we were able to make a contour that looks much more mouse-like. So when we look at the previous versions of Alibre, to come up with curvature like this, even with our loft tools, it would be very, very difficult to take an approach like this in the past. But now we can make full mice bodies and other great things pretty easily using these variable radius fillets. And there, of course, is a finished product. But let's take a closer look, because variable radius fillets are certainly not the only things that we have in this updated fillet tool. Here we have a bottle, and we might think of this as a laundry detergent bottle or an antifreeze bottle or something that sits on a shelf. And if we are the product designers, of course, we care a lot about how it looks, because we want our products to look great on shelves. So I'll make a fillet, and I'll make this 0.3 in size. And I can start choosing some faces and edges to apply my fillets. Now, when I take a look at making these fillets, I kind of want to ask myself, well, does this appear to be bottle-like, particularly where our fillets kind of intersect at these vertices? Could we do something even better? And with the new features in Alibre, I think we certainly can. So we'll tell that to fillet, and on this other side, of course, I'm asking a lot of fillets in one feature, so this might slow down a little bit, but these seem a little bit too square to be convincingly bottle edges, I think. So let's take a look at what we can do. I'm going to choose this blend vertices option, and we'll take a look at how these corners change as we blend the vertices. There you can see we've been able to stretch our fillets out quite a lot and get more bottle-like smooth transitions that I think do us a lot of favors. I can even change the bulge on this, so I can say, I'll make a very, very small number and apply that fillet, and these bulges will flatten out slightly, so we can adjust how these transitions work. Again, I think very exciting for a lot of applications, especially if you care about flow and want things to flow smoothly. It can be a real lifesaver. Now, let's finish up by putting a fillet around this neck. So I'll add a fillet. We'll make this 0.275, but if we are concerned with something looking good on a shelf, it does look kind of strange to have the fillet seem large over here and small over here, and we really want something that's more well-behaved. But fortunately, in this new release, we have size by chord length options, right? So the chord would be the tangent point on one side of the fillet and draw a straight line to the tangent point on the other side of the fillet, and that's chord length. So we're going to tell the fillet, instead of having a radius of 0.275, have a chord length of 0.275 and go to whatever radius you need to go to satisfy that. So when I size by chord length, you can see how much more well-behaved and consistent that fillet is all the way around. So I'll go ahead and apply that. And then I'm going to shell this top face out to make sure that we are actually dealing in a hollow bottle. And we'll give that a depth of, or thickness of 0.05 and apply that. I'll quickly cut this open here to confirm that we are dealing with a hollow constant thickness bottle. And there we are. And I may want to view some of the internal parts of this bottle, but you can tell even with slight movements of my mouse, we are moving around quite a lot. But fortunately, Alibre has a few tricks up its sleeve in this new release when we try to look at things like internal features. If I hold the space bar down on my mouse, look how easily and smoothly I am able to see the internal features by moving my mouse. So holding the space bar down gives you a very fine view adjustment, but there additionally in our system options are more tools to be able to view our models with. First, you can see that when I hover my mouse over a line or an edge, I have a nice thick highlight there. And I can change that to be a thinner highlight if that's my preference. So not only can we do that, but I'll head back to design viewing and I can adjust my rotation speed. I can take my rotation and zoom speed down. You can see I have a much more fine zoom and an easier rotation speed. So you're able to fine-tune the way that you view your designs in this latest dot release. Let me pull up one more example. I'm going to pull up a dice here. And there you can see we have a good view of our corner, and I'll go ahead and edit my fillet. Now, it's not just blend vertices that make a big difference, but we also have manual setbacks. So watch these corners closely as I say I want my setback to be 0.3 instead of 0.05. And as I make this bigger, the entire dice has a change in corner. So we can very finely control the way that we set back our dice. And I can also adjust my bulge. If I want pointier corners, I can give that a value of 2. Or if I want the corners to be quite flat, I can give this a value of 0.0001 or something really small, and we get kind of an interesting final product. That'd be kind of a fun dice to roll. Now there are some new features that aren't having to do with fillets, so let me pull up one of those. Let's say that I'm a mechanical engineer designing a crankshaft, and of course with crankshafts it's all about balance. So if I want to take a look at maybe how well balanced this crankshaft is, I have this new option in my tree to look at center of mass. I'll go ahead and show that point, and there I can see how the center of mass falls right on the origin, which is what we want. But I also have the ability to roll back and see if my individual throw is balanced, and I can see that it's kind of off there. And so this is a great way to double check if your math works or if something needs fine tuning. Perhaps I go back to the drawing board and I redesign a new crankshaft, and I can double check that one by showing my center of mass. Still loading up here. There we go. And yep, thank goodness it's at our origin. I'll roll it back here and look at one throw, and that looks much more centered. So we can design, iterate, and improve, and even in the drawing environment, we can dimension off of our centers of mass in the new version of Alibre. Let's pull up something else here. This is beautiful as far as CAD goes because it is simple, it is not graphics intensive. This is a great representation of a bolt. But if you're 3D printing, you may want to have something a little more, in this case, threads. So in this new version of Alibre, we have both our hole and our external tools that have been updated with some new features. We'll choose a circular edge here, and I can choose a thread series, right? Perhaps I want ANSI course, 5/16, and we have a cosmetic thread just like in the last version. But in this case, I'm able to click this modeled checkbox and physical threads show up right there. Now, in this case, these are nominal threads, so they'll be the same size as internal threads, not that practical for real life use, but we also can choose, say, average, and you can see how the threads adjust size there. This is every thread spec is going to give you maxes and mins dimensions, and so average is right in the middle of max and min for production threads, which is a pretty good place to be. But 3D printers tend to overbuild too. So if your 3D printer is putting too much material down, we also have a minimum material that shrinks the thread even further. And it's the minimum that you can have in that thread standard. And if you want to fine tune some things and maybe run it through a die or a tap yourself, you can choose a max material and get the max material within that standard as well. So these are all very, very great trends to be able to fine tune the threads that you want exactly. And there are even some custom threads that you can add as well if you'd like to have your own thread standards that don't show up in Alibre and have them be modeled in real time right before your eyes as well. Let's move on. I have a hummingbird feeder that I think is a pretty fun thing. And I'm not sure why I locked that target location. So let me pull that up here. This might be open from the last time, so I'll just be sure to close everything down in Alibre. Hmm. Yeah, strange. Okay, let me pull that up in the background. And while I do that, we do have a sales guy on the line. So if you're wondering about how to upgrade or change your license or acquire a Libre, Chris is the man. Chris, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, of course. So with Libre licenses, we have both the option for perpetual and subscriptions. Um, Perpetual licenses are something we've always offered. You buy it, you own it, and we don't plan on going away from that anytime soon, even though we now have subscriptions. Um, but yeah, if you'd like to, grab a license, you can head to our web store, just find it on the website, or feel free to reach out to us. We usually have, if there's a discount or sale, that'll be on the store, or we can always take a look on our end as well. Yeah, as far as yeah, get those, and subscriptions are on there as well. And then if you have an existing license, we have options to upgrade. So if you have Atom and you need some more functionality, want to get to Pro, you don't have to buy a new license. You'll get credit for your existing Atom, and you can upgrade that into Pro or Expert. And also, as far as updates, um, we don't punish you for every year you've missed for updates. So even if you're a few years out and you feel like you want to renew your license, you can always get back in. We have a lapse maintenance fee. It is a one-time fee. It does not compound like year after year.
Hey, thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it. I'll go ahead and share my screen again now that I got this thing open. So I've got a hummingbird feeder here, and you'll notice we have a threaded interface and we have a whole lot of configurations. So maybe I like the classic, I'll activate that, right? Or maybe I'm a football fan and I'll go for the Huskies. No matter what we do, we have a lot of configurations that we might want to prioritize. Now, in this case, we've added the ability to simply drag the order of the configurations that we'd like to have. So that makes configurations very, very easy to work with. And you'll notice that this little insert here can be adjusted. I'll take this to a separate window and we'll see what internal threads look like. Now, currently this has been made with a simple sweep. And you can see if I bring up the sketch, it ends right there at the bottom. Pretty good, but I think our tool can make things even easier. I'll go ahead and roll this back before our helical sweep, and we'll activate the hole tool. So I'll select what face I'd like my hole on. And perhaps I would like to have the ISO threads, maybe ISO course M39. There it is. I'll click on my origin to place the hole, And here I can say to limit geometry and use this face to limit exactly where my hole stops. And of course, I want to see these threads, so I'll click on the modeled icon. And there they are. There you can see that transition. I think it's a lot more smooth than it was before. And if I ever need to come and update these threads, then I simply change some settings in here. I can go to a different thread very quickly, and I don't need to edit my sketches to be able to do so. So again, this is great for 3D printing. It can make a pretty picture, but that's pretty computationally heavy. So just be careful how you use this tool so your computer doesn't run quite too slow. Next, maybe I want to point out or find certain things that have to do with this. Well, here is a magnifying glass icon that we've added into the Design Explorer. And as I click on it, I can maybe search for a drain. And sure enough, everything that matches that is shown here. I can search for a plane or any number of other things and be able to find it. Now, because it's so easy to search for things, we want to make it also easy to rename things. And so maybe I can choose something here and add to the name. So simply by double clicking in the tree, we can rename various tree items. Now, let's say that I've gone through this and we feel all good about it. I'll go ahead and save my changes. And then I want to send this to a drawing. So I'll go to Send To, make a drawing of this design, and we can take a look at some of the updates that we have in the drawing environment. As I pull up this view, I think one of my favorite things to adjust is the new datums. So we'll go ahead and accept that. And let's say that we've gone up and down our model and have decided that the best thing that we can do is take that very bottom face here and assign it to datum A. So we're going to pull up our datum. We're going to pull up datum A. And of course, our datum almost always goes into the right orientation. But every once in a blue moon, this arrow might be pointed up in the wrong way. But here we have the ability to flip the orientation so that if it's wrong, we can correct it immediately. Either you've never had this problem or it's been a big challenge, but either way, now we're able to customize our datum locations. In addition, as we go to draw this up, maybe I want to make a special dimension and have a note on it. And so when I go to change this dimension, you'll notice we have much wider boxes that we can input information in. And so I can say, whatever I'd like to append, I can clearly see in that box. And now let's look at that leader line. Maybe per some internal standards or personal preferences or whatever we want to say, this horizontal line is just too long. Well, now we are able to adjust that. So we'll go to System, actually Drawing Properties, and then I'll go to Lines and Arrows, and I'll change this to 0.125, and we'll take a look at this horizontal line as I apply this change. You can see that that line shrinks significantly, so we can make that line whatever length that we want, and we'll still be good. Those are some of my favorite updates in the drawing environment. But we also have some PDM updates that I'd like to go through with you as well. So I'll pull back up my Alibre home screen and open up my PDM browser. Now here I have a project for a lifting jack, and I'll go ahead and open up the assembly for it. And so I've got this full jack assembly. I want to perhaps reposition it or make some changes. And when we're all done, I'll click on Save. Now I'll select my option to check in the safe, and now we're ready to see our first enhancement to the PDM, and that is version comments. Right here in our check-in screen, I have my version comment that I can add. And so when you're working in a collaborative environment, the goal often is to document your work as well as possible, and we want to make sure that you can do that with the least amount of effort. And by being able to directly version comment as you check in, that should save a lot of time and effort without having to navigate through the PDM and be able to have to go find our versions and start adding comments like that. Well, maybe we've ran this through manufacturing, they love it, we're ready to release it. We want to revision it. Well, we're currently on revision 4, so I'll right click and add revision. And you'll notice that it automatically numbers up to revision 5. Now, before we'd have to go through our custom properties and go find some variable for revision and try to do it that way. But here, simply right click and add revision is a new feature that should save a lot of time and keep things organized. We also, you'll notice my little X here. I want to make sure that I close my jack. Not sure what happened there, but we also have the option to go to revision B or some other letter or whatever value that we want. And I'll go ahead and apply that change. Now, let's say that I want to delete something, right? Let's say I want to delete this part here. I'll go to delete, but you'll see that it is stopping me from being able to delete some things. And it's of course because this file is being referenced by my assembly, and if I delete it, it'll break my assembly. But it's not always straightforward, especially when you have many subassemblies, what is being referenced by what. But now we have the ability to click on this magnifying glass, and we can see that, oh, this nut, which is version 1, is used in the assembly versions 1 and 2, and then version 2 of this nut is being used in versions 3 through 10 of the assembly. So we can see a complete story of how everything is being used, where and when. And you'll see that this interface shows up in multiple places within the PDM. So that is a wonderful enhancement to avoid the frustration of wanting to delete something and not having a straightforward path of where or how to delete it. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, okay, but if I'm an Atom user, what do I actually get out of this? And I'm happy to say that, of course, Datums and GD&T and the PDM browser, those are all pro features. Configuration is a pro feature, but everything else is available to you in Atom. So you have your threads. The threads just don't have drawing callouts in the drawing environment, but you'll have your model threads. You'll be able to add your custom threads. You'll be able to have all the fillet capabilities, and that should be great to go. Now, we've already covered how to get Alibre, how to upgrade, and all that. So I think we could probably turn this over to Q&A. What have we got?
Yeah, Larry has been making some great comments in our section. And the first one I want to highlight is please do not go away from perpetual licenses. I agree. I think that's the best thing that any software company could do because typically when you buy something, you get to keep it. You don't have to keep buying it over and over again. So I agree. I think that's something that Alibre really stands for is holding on to the perpetual style of licensing. Obviously, like Chris said, you can buy the update if you need it, but you're buying what we have. And so if we add new stuff like every company does, then it's a good idea to get that update. And Joseph, this is a good question for you. Okay. He's talking about electrical discharge machining with the thread tool. Are you familiar with that?
EDM, yes. So
Yes, EDM.
I have no experience with EDM personally, but this does allow you to have the full thread profile. So I wouldn't see a problem with being able to do that. I imagine the EDM machine is just going to need, a step file or something similar that has the full defined thread on it. And that's what we're able to do here. And we have the thread spreadsheet so you can define the thread exactly by entering whatever data is necessary to do it. So I think that's capable, but don't have personal experience for myself.
Satisfied with that answer. Well, if anyone else has any other questions about what we've went over today, please post them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we would be happy to answer them.
Looks like Larry also asked if the threads are actual solid geometry, and yes, they are. They are solid geometry, so if you need to add a radius or make any fine tuning, you can.
Yeah, we're really excited about this thread tool. I kind of became a thread geek over this tool. So
This is a very big update, guys. Very big. It's huge for especially Atom holders. It's giving you guys a lot more tools to use.
Absolutely. For being a dot release, I was really, really impressed at how many features came together in so short a time. The team did a really fantastic job. Does anybody else have any questions that we can answer?
See any currently, but let's give them a few minutes and see.
If we don't, here's Chris's contact. Feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions or need any updates, and he'll be happy to help out. I think we've got a question coming in here. Maybe not. Yeah, we see Larry. Larry's been a longtime user, and we're seeing some ups today, and I completely agree. This was a really exciting release for me, so it's been wonderful to be able to present it with everybody.
Yeah, when they said it was a dot release, I was like, really?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
if
well, it
nothing,
looks like everything is, all the questions are answered. There's no questions remaining. If you guys do have any questions, please contact Chris. He would be happy to assist you. Or you can email us at hello@alibre.com and we'd be happy to answer any questions or get you set up with the newest, most exciting update of Alibre.
absolutely. And I think we got one comment or question coming in, so I'd love to see that.
It does look like it, yes.
No pressure. Well, I think that might be it. So thank you everyone so much. Oh, wait, we got something coming in. You bet. Hey, thank you guys so
Chuck,
much.
thanks everyone for attending. It's good
Have a
to see you.
wonderful Thursday. Have a good Friday tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.